let's look at some points, lines, planes, and angles. First, we need to look at the notation and the vocabulary. Anytime you have a line, like from A to B, it's listed as either AB or BA. It can be done either way with arrows on both ends on the top. The next common thing, the half line symbols are not as common. Rays are very common. Ray is a line that starts at A and goes through B. Okay, so you would have to have a dot at A and an arrow at B. Or if it starts at B and goes through A, you would list it this way, a dot at B and an arrow through the A. So it always tells which direction it's going. A line segment is written A, B, or BA. Order doesn't matter on those. And they typically just put a line over the top of it. Let's talk about lines. We can have parallel lines. Those are lines that never touch. Intersecting lines are lines that cross. We can also do planes. You can have parallel planes or intersecting planes. And the last type is called skew lines. Skew means they do not ever touch, but they're not parallel. They're in different planes. So this one is going, the red one's going one direction in one plane. The blue one is going another direction in a different plane, but they never touch. Let's talk about angles. This angle, we have the vertex is the one in the middle. Okay, this can be called ABC. It can be called CBA, or it can just be called angle B. The next one can be called DEF, FED, or it can just be angle E. There's three ways to list those. Let's start on the right-hand side for these. This would be 10 degrees. N is 45 degrees. If they are less than 90, they're called acute. C is a 90-degree angle. That's considered a right angle. X is a 150-degree angle. Notice it's bigger than 90, so that's called obtuse. And a 360-degree angle would go all the way around a circle. The one they left out was a 180-degree angle. That's a straight line, and we're going to use that in example 1. Okay, in example 1, it says find the measure of each marked angle. So here's what we know about intersecting lines. The angles across from each other are equal. Okay, so if I had an A here and a C down here, A and C would be equal. They want me to find the measure of each angle. What I have to use is this. I know that 4x plus 19 is going to be equal to 6x minus 5. So let's finish this. Okay, I'm going to move my letters to the left. So if I subtract 6x from both sides, that gives me negative 2x plus 19 is equal to negative 5. Next thing I'm going to do is move my numbers to the right. I'm going to subtract 19 from both sides. I get negative 2x is equal to a negative 24. And now if I divide by negative 2 on both sides, I find out that x is equal to 12. Now, if all they wanted was x, I'm done. But in this case, they wanted the measure of both angles, okay? So what I have to do is I have to plug this back in and figure out what the measure of the angle is. Now, the good news is I just have to find one, right, because they're equal. So let's do that. Let's take this number and let's plug it back in right there for x. So I'm going to have 6 times 12 minus 5. Now 6 times 12 is 72. And 72 minus 5 is going to give me 67. So the measure of each angle would be 67 because we know they're equal. Now on part B, we have what we call a straight angle. When you have a straight angle, it adds up to 180. So I know that 3x minus 30 plus 4x is going to equal 180. So I can simplify that. I'm going to get my x's together. So that's going to give me 7x minus 30 is equal to 180. I'm going to move my 30. I typically do letters left numbers to the right. So I'm going to move that negative 30, which means I'm going to add 30 to both sides. Then I get 7x is equal to 210. Divide by 7. And x is going to equal 30. Now this time, we have to plug it back in both sides up there because they're not equal. Okay, so we're going to have to plug it back in both. So we're going to take that 30 and we're going to plug it back in here. And we're going to take the 30 and we're going to plug it back in over here. Now 4 times 30, let me get a different color here. 4 times 30 is 120. So this angle is 120. Now there's 2 ways you can find this angle. You can plug the 30 back in. 3 times 30 is 90. Minus 30 is 60. Or you could have said this is a 180-degree angle. 120 from 180 is 60. But either way will give you those 2 answers. So let's look at one more before we stop this one. The next one is very similar except we're dealing with a right angle. It says find the measures of the angle. So we have 2 angles here. A, B to this one, and then that to B to D. Okay, so I know these add up to 90. So I'm going to say 2x plus 20 plus 12x equals 90 because it's a right angle. So I can put my x's together here. It gives me 14x plus 20 equals 90. I'm going to move my numbers to the right, so I'm going to subtract 20. I get 14x equals 70. When I divide by 14, I end up with x is equal to 5. Now remember, we have to plug that back in. Okay, so we have to take that and we have to plug it back into both angles here. So the final answer isn't 5. Different color here. The final answer is going to be 2 times 5 plus 20. And that gives me 30. And then 12 times 5 is going to give me 60. And that would be the final answer for that right angle.